A new study shows that those homes located next to a large solar array may have property values decline by about 1.5%. A record 4.2 gigawatts of large storage capacity was installed in the US in 2022. And it shows that the new study shows that the boom is really just beginning in storage. And corporate contracts for renewable energy are up a remarkable 45% over the last 12 months, mainly driven by high-tech companies. I'm Jay Warmke with Blue Rock Station, and this is the news from the solar industry for the week of March 6th. All right, well, a study by Berkeley Labs found that those residences that are located within half a mile of a large solar array versus 4 miles away from a large solar farm may see property values decline by up to 1.5%. But the study is not as clear-cut as that. Now, what they did is they studied facilities or homes near large arrays in 6 different states. They were California, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Jersey, and North Carolina. Now, those 6 states represent about 50% of the large solar that's installed in the country. They found that in 3 of those states, they did see property declines when located near a large solar array. For instance, in Minnesota, property values were down about 4%. In North Carolina, they were down about 5.8%, and in New Jersey, down about 5.6%. But in California, Connecticut, Massachusetts didn't seem to have any kind of impact on property value. Another factor was what was on the land prior to the solar array being developed. Now, property values were affected if it was a low density population area and agricultural land. But if the site that was developed was industrial, or a brownfield or an urban type setting, then that had no impact on property values at all. A study by S&P Global Market Research noted that large storage grew by 4.2 gigawatts in 2022. That's up about 29% from 2021. But it looks like the boom in storage is just beginning. In fact, of the systems that were installed in 2022, only about 46% of them were actually installed. The rest were delayed because of supply chain issues. And this study goes on to project that while we saw about 4 gigawatts installed in 2022, we're looking at about 62 gigawatts of storage capacity, and these are primarily large storage facilities located or co-located with renewable energy generating facilities like solar arrays or wind farms. But they're looking at about 62 gigawatts being installed over the next 5 years in the United States. So the battery boom just beginning. Corporate renewable energy contracts were up an astounding 45% over the last 12 months. Now, what this is when corporations contract with developers to supply them with renewable energy to meet their needs. This, again, by a study from S&P Global Market Research, they found that high-tech companies and companies like Amazon led the way. Amazon demonstrated about 15 gigawatts of contracts over the last 12 months. This was followed by Meta, which is Facebook's parent company. They had about 8 gigawatts. Google, Microsoft, and Verizon round out the top 5. The largest growth sector, of course, was within the high-tech industry looking to offset their energy use with renewables, followed by telecommunications, and then followed third by manufacturing. The U.S. Department of Treasury issued guidelines on some of the provisions from the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA. Specifically, what they were trying to define is just what qualifies as low income for the 10% additional kicker for energy tax credits, when you install in a low-income area. They did cap the annual amount that would qualify for these credits at 1.8 gigawatts. 20% of the projects that qualify at least have to be low-income residential. Application process begins in 2023, and the low-income residential projects will get first priority. If they don't allocate all of the funds in a given year, those funds will then roll over to subsequent years and be allocated then. Data from the EIA, which is the Energy Industries Association or Administration, showed that renewable energy generation grew by about 12.5% in 2022. Solar grew by 24% over that same time period. It now renewables account for about 23% of the generation that's seen on the U.S. grid. And in a separate study by a group called the Local Institute for Self-Reliance, they found that in 2021, about 90% of all of the generating facilities installed in the U.S. were renewable. Solar led the way with 56%, wind 44%, and natural gas with about 10% of the generating capacity. And that's the news from the solar industry for this week. We'll see you next week.